One thing I don't get is why the rest of the SEC continues to look at Missouri as a lesser program in this conference. This was a program that appeared in the SEC championship game 2 of its first 3 years in this conference. This was a program that was 1 game away from playing for a national championship in 2007. This was a program that nearly ended Georgia's winning streak in a simply average year for them. And sure, Missouri's had some bad years, but they've also had some really good ones that just seem to be ignored. Beating Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl and holding them to no touchdowns? Yeah, that's an accomplishment no matter who you are. And, okay, on a year-to-year basis, we know Missouri isn't financially what the larger schools in the SEC are. They haven't beaten Alabama since being in this conference, and they haven't won either of those SEC championship games they appeared in. But underneath the surface, you see a team that's well coached, a team that plays with a lot of effort, and a team that loses a lot of talent this year and is plagued by schedule dynamics. As we'll see when I bring up the schedule, Missouri has one of the most unique schedules I've ever seen. They start the season with 6 straight home games, 3 of those being Central Arkansas, Louisiana, and UMass. There is Alabama in that stretch, but honestly that's not saying much. Very likely Missouri comes out of that stretch with 1 or 2 losses. But enough about the schedule, let's actually pick the games within. You guys know how I do this by now. I round the likelihood of a win to the nearest quarter, and then that ends up counting towards the win total. If you want a more detailed explanation of how it works, I suggest watching my past videos, or just keep watching this one so you can see it in action. So they start against Central Arkansas, which is obviously a 1. Then we get into the Kansas game, which is a 0.5. Kansas is probably not the type of program that can be world beaters or really anything close to it every year. But even last year, in a year where they missed a bowl game, they were able to beat 3 top 20 opponents in a row, which definitely means something. Jalen Daniels is still there, and you pretty much know what you have, and that's a pretty good quarterback. And it's a quarterback that a lot of teams wish they could have. When it comes to which quarterback I'd rather have on my team, I'm not sure whether I'd rather have Pribula or Daniels. All I know is I don't know what to expect from Kansas in the run game. This team's running back position is kind of an unknown. But I think with the scheme and the quarterback they have, they'll be able to figure some things out, which is why this game could go either way. Louisiana's a 0.75. They're an upper tier group of 5 program, so the upset chance is there, but Missouri is most likely going to win that game. South Carolina's a 0.5. If there's a team that I think is getting too much hype in the SEC this year, it's South Carolina. With that said though, I'm not sure Missouri is a lock to beat them this year, even with Eli Drinkwitz's track record of basically owning South Carolina. If you don't know, Eli Drinkwitz has gone up against South Carolina every year since 2019, even going back to his time at Appalachian State. His first loss to South Carolina was a last-minute loss that occurred last year. Now, I'm not as high on Lenora Sellers as some people are, but I can't deny that the rest of the South Carolina team does have some nice talent. Guys like Nick Harbor and Dylan Stewart are standouts, and DQ Smith gives an experienced presence in the secondary. But even without sitting and naming names, I do wonder if South Carolina can sustain their success for multiple years. Missouri can certainly win this one, and in fact, I do lean in that direction. Still, not enough to change the rating I've given this game. UMass is a 1, Alabama is a 0.25. I'm not sure this rating needs much explanation. Alabama is a much better team than Missouri, and they likely won't have to break a sweat to win this one. At Auburn is a 0.25. Sure, this is 2 teams coming off of most likely their toughest game of the year, or close to it. But Missouri will have played 6 straight home games before this one. And if I'm playing my first road game late into the season, this is one of the last environments I'd want to come into. Team roster stuff, don't really care. When you haven't been in a hostile environment in a long time, you can get shocked, and I think that has the chance to happen here. And I don't think Missouri can match up with Auburn's athletes anyway. Oh wow, you got Kevin Coleman out of the transfer portal. I'm sorry, but he just doesn't scare me. He won't even be the best wide receiver with that name in this game, as we all know what Cam Coleman is, a superstar. And sure, we've seen Pribula perform on short notice in big environments, like against Wisconsin last year, but that was when he had a better roster than the other team. He does not in this game. At Vanderbilt is a 0.5. I respect Vanderbilt and Pavia enough to give this game a 0.5. Because of the style of football Vanderbilt plays, they're going to have at least a chance against anyone. Low scoring and heavy clock means high variance, and at that point, the lesser roster can win. And they have a perfect fit at quarterback for what they want to do. Texas A&M is a .25. Even at home, I respect A&M's roster and coaching. This is a clear .25, similar to Alabama in that Missouri still has a chance, but not much of one. Mississippi State at home is a .5. I do expect Mississippi State to be improved, and this is one of the more gettable games for them. The thing about gettable games, though, is that you still have to get them. Mississippi State is still bad enough that even their more favorable matchups are ones where they're near even with the other team, or still slightly not as good. At Oklahoma is a .5. I still really haven't bought into Venables long-term at Oklahoma, or Mateer as a quarterback. Yes, he gets a lot of credit for those big highlight plays in the run game and can make some really good throws. Consistency is one thing I don't really think should be considered a given with Mateer, as he seemed to have some bad habits at Washington State. If nothing else, Mateer is going to actually have healthy wide receivers, which is something Arnold didn't have at Oklahoma last year. Deion Burks can make a lot of quarterbacks look better than they are, for sure. I still do think this is a more evenly matched game than a lot of people think, because hey, Missouri has some decent players and, for that matter, a decent coach too. At Arkansas is a .75. Missouri has pretty much owned Arkansas since they've been in the SEC, and I don't think that stops this year. This is very likely to be a zombie Arkansas team by the time Missouri plays against them. I don't think Sam Pittman is going to keep his job, which is a sad thing to say because I love Sam Pittman as a human being. But outside of Talon Green, there isn't much on this team that scares me. And I think that unlike Missouri's schedule, Arkansas's schedule is difficult enough at the start that it can crush their hopes right away and have that quit factor set in. I believe that's what will happen here. So when you add up all those ratings, you end with a predicted record of 7-5, which I think is about right. Drinkwitz started his time at Missouri hovering around 500 for his first 3 years, only for one field goal against Kansas State to quite literally change their program. They haven't been the same since then. And 2 back-to-back double-digit win seasons for them have shown what they can be. I still do think, though, that this will sort of be a down year for them. The loss of Cook and Burden, which were really the nucleus of the team from the last couple years, is most likely going to hurt them. I think their run of double-digit win seasons stops here, which is fine. I still think Eli Drinkwitz, or Church Boy as I call him, is still a long-term coach at Missouri. So, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. You'll see the entire SEC get previewed on this channel before the season starts. As always, leave a like and a subscription if you enjoyed it, and have a good one. Tonight.
What do you mean tonight?